Okay, so you have already taken the timeline blueprint of Aristotle. और एरिस्टोटल के केस में एक्चुअली क्या है कि अगेन यू विल लर्न वेरियस थिंग्स about political science, will not be just about Aristotle. Okay, so let us start our discussion on Aristotle. So you have already got the blueprint. That is first the introduction, and then it is methodology. Okay. Aristotle. So first thing about Aristotle is this, that um, he is the philosopher who is, by this time, that who has been the disciple of Plato, who in turn was the disciple of Socrates. So when it comes to Aristotle, there are various generalizations or general characteristic of this philosopher which has been which have been highlighted and made remarked by different scholars. So for example, Ebenstein करके एक philosopher, एक scholar हुए हैं Ebenstein. उन्होंने बोला कि when it comes to Aristotle, you can say that Plato had certain defects and Plato found his own corrective in Aristotle, in his own pupil. Okay, pupil मतलब शिष्य. तो Aristotle was the disciple of Plato. So Ebenstein का कहना है कि Plato ने अपना corrective अपने pupil में ही पाया. Okay, there has been one philosopher by this name Foster. उनका ये कहना था कि when you analyze the influence of one philosopher over the other, then the extent to which Aristotle is influenced by Plato, that influence is actually rare. Okay, so first we will understand what are the general remarks made by different philosophers, different scholars, and those scholars have been the avid readers of Aristotle and also Plato. So they have been the avid readers of Greek political philosophy. Okay, तो write down पहले कुछ जनरल कैरेक्टराइजेशंस हम लिख लें, उसके बाद आई विल टॉक अबाउट टर्मिनोलॉजी, the methodology that they have been using. Okay, so write down Ebenstein says that Ebenstein, Ebenstein, Tein, Tein, Tein. Ebenstein says that Plato found his corrective. Plato, okay, corrective in his own in his own pupil, and scholars declare him the greatest Platonic of all times. Greatest Platonic of all times. Greatest Platonic of all time. Okay, greatest Platonic of all time. See the remark, greatest Platonic of all time. Now this is interesting. कैसे? कि now when you will see Aristotle, he will be opposing various philosophies, various ideas of Plato. So why scholars found him that he's the greatest Platonic of all time? It is because of the influence, okay, influence of Plato. So ये भी कहा जाता है कि every page that Aristotle writes is in response to Plato. Okay, next write down. According to Foster, write down. According to Foster, Foster. Foster. According to Foster, no other scholar has been influenced. No other scholar has been influenced by any other philosopher to the extent to the extent as as Aristotle was influenced by Plato, as Aristotle was influenced by Plato. ठीक है, influenced by Plato. ठीक है. Now I am giving these generalization, but these are something that you will find in his theories also. तो आपको ये सब चीजें जो फॉस्टर कह रहा है, जो एरनस्टीन कह रहा है, all that will be seen in his theories also. Okay. Now when you see Aristotle, आज आप उसको देखना शुरू करेंगे, you will start analyzing his theories, and there you will see that, as I said, that in many of the cases it will be a clear departure, very clear departure, sometimes complete opposite thing will be said by Aristotle, and then also all these claims are being made. That is why in this context it is also said, there has been another scholar by this name Will Durant. He says that Aristotle, although is influenced by Plato very clearly, he respected Plato on very much. He actually loved Plato, as you can see that he is the most eligible uh, p- pupil, or you can say most distinctive disciple of Plato. और उस केस में उसने कहा कि for Aristotle the case is that Plato is dear, but more dear is truth. Okay, so write down this line, that according to Will Durant, Will Durant, Will Durant, for Aristotle, dear is Plato, dear is Plato, but but dearer is still is truth. क्या मतलब हुआ इसका? What does that mean? Yes, Akash, what do you think? He valued truth means if it necessitates the departure, he will not shy away. Okay, so yes, Plato is his master, and he is going to respect all that. Okay, he has studied in Plato's academy. Okay, for 20 years actually. Okay, for 20 years. After that, again he came out with his own school that was called Lyceum. तो एकेडमी नाम था प्लेटो की स्कूल का, एंड लीसियम वाज द नेम ऑफ Aristotle's school, where he used to deliver public lectures, and that was all for free. So people used to sit there, and then he used to lecture, lecture about science, about biology, about so many other things, because he has this background in the biology also. He was from a philosophy, he was from a family whereby his father was actually a practitioner of medicine. So biology, medicine, all that actually came natural to him. So it is also claimed that many of the theories that he has propounded, there you can see a direct influence of biological science. Okay, and one case which is very clear in case of Aristotle is that he, most of all, in foremost case, it is actually the observation that is going to influence him. तो प्लेटो क्या करता है, इमेजिन करता है. Okay, so whatever Plato has theorized, that is based on his imagination, his deduction. But Aristotle's comes with his theories on the basis of observation. So, first of all, Aristotle is an observer, a very keen observer. So much so that he used to have 7 to 800 assistants with him who used to observe various things. So, for example, he would make any assistant to observe the movement of duck for next 7 8 hours. So that observer, that assistant of Aristotle, would sit beside a bank of a river and would see that how the birds there, ducks there, make which kind of movements. ओके सो एरिस्टोटल अपने लॉजिक के लिए जाना जाता है एंड अपने थ्योरीज को वो फाउंडेशन में जिन फाउंडेशन के द्वारा बिल्ड करता है एंड आफ्टर दैट ही इज गोइंग टू पुट ब्रिक्स ओवर ब्रिक्स and then will build the edifice. All that is acutely observed phenomena, all that is based on acute observation. Okay, so this will be reflected in his theories. The way he puts his theories is very logical, and that actually is the distinction that you can make when you study Aristotle. So right on next line, that Aristotle is called the father of political science. Father of political science. Okay, and now you already know that Plato is known as the father of political idealism. Getting it? We have already seen that, how he is the father of political idealism. Aristotle, you can say, is the father of political realism. Okay, so write down, from Plato comes political idealism. From Plato comes political idealism. And from Aristotle comes political realism. ठीक है अच्छा तो ये this is political idealism is one thing, and the other school is political realism. Okay, just to remind you, political idealism puts emphasis on ideas over matter. For them, what appears to be real is not actually real. So, this word, which appears to be real, is filled with certain defects. Okay, so corrections need to be made. So, it is actually ideas or forms which are real. Okay, so they put emphasis on ideas. Now, political realism, again, it will be matter becoming more important than ideas. Matter, importance of matter over ideas. Okay, so that is visible in case of Aristotle. Now, this classification of two schools of thought actually sums up everything that is going to be part of political philosophy or political theory, okay, or anything political. And I'm talking about politics, then I include other dimensions of human life also. So ethics, economics, all becomes part of politics if politics, the word is interpreted widely. Okay, we have dealt with that. Now, if this is so, then one will either follow political idealism or political realism. Getting it? One will either consider the superiority of ideas over matter, or he will consider matter being superior to ideas. This will be the case. So, actually, because of this thing, a famous poet Coleridge ने क्या बोला कि वन इज आइदर प्लेटोनिक और एरिस्टोटेलियन, या तो कोई इंसान प्लेटोनिक होगा या फिर एरिस्टोटेलियन होगा, और कोई ऑप्शन ही नहीं है. So either you will be political realist or political idealist. Okay, so write down. Um, on this basis, Coleridge said, on this basis, Coleridge said that one is born either a Platonist or Aristotelian. Okay, now talking about his life little bit. Actually, when you saw the case of Plato, you have seen that he was born in Athens, and then he saw Athens got defeated in Peloponnesian War. Okay, and that left a lasting impact on his mind. So he went on to find the reasons behind the defeat of Athens. It is actually the war, the Peloponnesian War that we are talking about, was not the war between Athens and Sparta. It was the war among Greek city states. One group was led by Sparta, the other group was led by Athens. So the group led by Sparta won over Athens. Okay, so ultimately it was the defeat of Athens, and that is going to influence Plato to the extent that he is going to be busy in finding out the reasons behind the defeat of Athens, and then will come out with the diagnosis, and then finally prescription. Okay, so philosopher king, then in a statesman, laws, all that you have seen. Now, when it comes to Aristotle, he was not born in Athens, so he was not a born Athenian, but he spent more than half of his life, almost half of his life, in Athens only. So first, as a disciple of Plato, getting it, in his school that was called academy, Plato की school का नाम था academy, and then the master of his own school, that is Lyceum. Okay, now if you talk about the important works, so important works of Aristotle, actually observation उसकी इतने wide area में थी कि everything under the sun is touched by him. Okay, so he's not considered the father of political science alone, he is considered the father of science also. And much before Newton, he gave his own laws of motion. So just like you have Newton's laws of motion, Aristotle's laws of motion were also there, but they proved to be incorrect because he was having this, you can say, limited capacity, or you can say the limited availability of equipment and all to make that kind of observation. But he attempted in that direction. So science, metaphysics, physics, astronomy, everything was covered by Aristotle. So Aristotle ki reach is much wider than what you have seen in case of Plato. Okay, but when it comes to our syllabus, we are going to be concerned about political philosophy. So the political philosophy of Aristotle is to be found in his major work, that is Politics. Politics. Okay, and some references are also there in Nicomachean Ethics. Okay, another important work which becomes interesting for us is his comparison of 158 constitution. Okay, so among the wide array of work that he has been able to come out with because of his keen observation of science of human activities, we are concerned with politics, to some extent Nicomachean Ethics, and his comparison of 158 constitution. Okay, so this will be our focus. In case of Plato, you have seen that he has written Republic, he has written Statesman, he has written Laws, Crito, Apology, but we were concerned mainly with Republic, and to a very to some extent with Statesman and Laws. ये आपने देखा. तो यहाँ पास हम पॉलिटिक्स की बात करेंगे. उसकी एक बुक का नाम है पॉलिटिक्स, विच एक्चुअली इज द एक्सटेंशन ऑफ अनदर बुक, एथिक्स. तो उसने दो बुक यहाँ पास जो लिखी, एथिक्स और पॉलिटिक्स लिखी. तो हम पॉलिटिक्स से कंसर्न रहेंगे क्योंकि उसमें उसकी पॉलिटिकल फिलोसफी दिखती है. ओके, सो again I will just remind you that we are dealing with those people who are actually philosophers, not political philosopher. So because they have philosophized about so many things, they have also philosophized about state. So we are concerned with a very narrow spectrum here that is related to their political philosophy. Okay, तो इस चीज को ध्यान रखना है. तो write down next line. Aristotle was not an Athenian by birth. Athenian, Athens वाला Athenian. Aristotle was not an Athenian by birth, but lived in Athens for more than half of his life. First, as a student of Plato's Academy, Athenian. Okay, first, as a student of Plato's Academy, Aristotle was not an Athenian by birth, but lived in Athens for more than half of his life. First, as a student of Plato's Academy, and later, as master of his own institution, as master of his own institution, Lyceum, 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 Lyceum. Right on. Next line. Is said to have written. Aristotle is said, SAID, said to have written more than 150 philosophical treatises. Okay. Next line. Aristotle's political philosophy. Aristotle's political philosophy is found mainly in politics. Mainly in politics. Although there are some references of his political thought, of his political thought in Nicomachean ethics. In Nicomachean ethics. Nicomachean ethics. Nicomachean ethics. Oh, it is not CHO, it is CO. Nicomachean ethics. Next line. His work Constitutions. His work Constitutions. Constitutions analyzes the system of government on the basis of his study of about 158 constitutions. Okay. So basically, politics we are going to be concerned about. Okay. On secondly, constitutions. ये जो work है इसका. Now the next is methodology. Okay, so firstly we are going to understand so here firstly we are going to compare Plato and Aristotle. Okay, I will dictate everything. First understand. So Plato, you have seen that he has adopted deductive approach. Deductive approach. What is that? From general to particular. And Aristotle, inductive. From particular to general. So how do we say that Plato is deductive in his approach? Try, Guru. Try to answer this. Plato is deductive in his approach. Plato actually is deductive in the sense that he has this preconceived ideas when it comes to ideal state. That what is an ideal state? He has his idea, a preconceived idea that is general. And then he seeks to achieve this idea by going to particular situations. That means what should be the form of justice? Okay, what is justice? Then what should be the form of education? How the society is to be divided into different classes? Then which particular class should be allowed to have property? Guardian class should not be allowed to have property. All those are what? Particular details. Okay, so he has this preconceived conclusions, idea, and then tries to realize them by particular situations. Now, what about inductive approach? Inductive approach का मतलब होता है कि no preconceived conclusion. It is also called philosophical approach. Okay, अगर ये चीज आपको नहीं पता थी तो also understand that deduction is also called philosophical approach. Philosophical approach, a philosophical method. Induction means from particular to general. That means study or analysis of particular cases and then finally coming to a general conclusion. So that means what? If I say that Plato is deductive because he conceives an ideal state and then tries to achieve it by going into the details, if that makes Plato deductive and Aristotle I'm saying is inductive, does that mean that Aristotle does not have any idea of good life or good state? Does it mean this? क्या इसका मतलब ये होगा एरिस्टोटल अगर इंडक्टिव है प्लेटो डिडक्टिव है तो जैसा कि प्लेटो एक कंसीव करता है व्हाट इज गुड स्टेट व्हाट इज आइडियल स्टेट एरिस्टोटल डज नॉट हैव द आइडिया और इमेजिनेशन ऑफ अ गुड स्टेट Aristotle does have the idea, but he builds his ideal state through inductive process. Getting it? He does not have all the details which are ready made, you can say. So some idea will be there, but Plato has an idea and then there will be corrections in particular situation to meet that criteria, to realize that criteria, to realize that idea that he already has in his mind. Inductive approach में क्या होगा? We particular situations की study, उनमें correction and rectification, what should be there, and then this way idea gets formed. Getting it? So yes, he will also be working for making the society better, the state better, but the approach is inductive. That means he does not have a finally conceived, already pre-concluded idea of ideal state. That is not the case. So that is why we are saying that is he is inductive. That does not mean that he does not imagine what is good life, what is good state. Okay? So right on this point about methodology, that um, according to Barker, according to Barker, Aristotle has adopted scientific methodology. ओके साइंटिफिक एंड यहाँ साइंटिफिक का मतलब समझो कि साइंटिफिक का मतलब है सिस्टमैटिक सो साइंटिफिक वुड मीन सिस्टमैटिक it would also mean that it will not be dependent upon imagination alone. Getting it? So here it will be trial and error, okay, cause and effect. It will be about that. So right on next slide. Unlike his master Plato, who proceeded from general to particular, Aristotle followed the path. Aristotle followed the path from particular to general. Next line. Plato argued with conclusions. Plato argued with conclusions that he had preconceived, while Aristotle, in a scientific way, arrived at his conclusions through logic and analysis. Through logic and analysis. So when it comes to Aristotle, things will be scientific. साइंटिफिक का मतलब क्या है कि व्हाट यू सी इन साइंस डिसिप्लिन्स ऑफ साइंस डिसिप्लिन में आप देखेंगे कि देयर इज स्ट्रेस ऑन establishing causal relationships, things are systematic, things are logically built. Okay, then you will also see that conclusions are derived by using data, by experiments, by observation, regarding those observation in form of tabular data. Okay, so don't you think a great deal of empirical element is involved in scientific research? That was something which was being attempted by Aristotle, not only for studying politics but for studying anything. Okay, and that makes him the father of science also. So Aristotle is not only a political philosopher, he is actually, I'm sorry, he's also an empiricist. Empiricist का मतलब क्या होता है कि the one who is going to take uh, record observations, and then through those observations that he is able to record, he is going to conclude. तो आप ये वर्ड यूज करते हैं, empirical evidence suggest. That means what? You might not be able to see the cause and effect relationship every time, but empirical evidence suggests that this is likely to happen or that is likely to happen. That means previous data that you have collected, and according to that data, you are able to conclude things. So Aristotle did that also. And for that reason, Aristotle is being called empiricist. So write down next line. Aristotle was also an empiricist. ठीक है. Now coming to this part, that uh, does he not imagine a good state or good life? He imagines it. Okay, but he's going to build it by his inductive approach. That means he's going to analyze the particular situations, will find defects, will find defect, will actually suggest measures how the corrections can be made, and all that together um, leads to the formation of a good state. Okay, so that approach is inductive. Now it is actually his inductive approach which impels him to observe different kind of states. What other factor will impel him? What other factors will impel any person to classify 158 different constitutions? एक यही this particular quest of finding out what is different in others cases in this state or that state, why that state is doing good, why that state is doing bad. So this is what impelled him to classify different constitutions. 158 constitution. आपके पॉलिटी में कितना है? एक एक सिलेबस का हिस्सा है. कंपैरेटिव एनालिसिस करनी है आपको. And I have seen that candidates do not, actually they are scared about reading major constitution of the world. For example, there and that part of the syllabus that you have in GS2, you are required to compare major constitution, USA constitution, China ka constitution, France ka constitution. Okay, even that is a problem. But this man goes on to record the differences in 158 constitution in ancient Greece I'm talking about. Okay, ancient Greece. So now everything is available, readily available. If you talk about data, what is the system and all, and he goes on to do that in that particular time where you did not have internet or so. I just want you to realize his quest, okay, his desire. So that is induction. That is inductive approach. तो ये चीज his inductive approach impels him to do that, to analyze the defects, the positives and the negatives of different state. But in that process, he is also having that idea ki what is good, because only on that basis he's able to correct, or he is able to provide corrections, or he is able to provide factors which will rectify the situation. Getting it? So I can't say that he did not have any preconceived conclusion at all. No, that will not be a case. Okay, but he builds his final idea by making changes in particular situation, and for that reason we are calling him inductive. Okay, it would be incorrect to say that he did not have any preconceived conclusion. That is not something which you can actually claim. Okay, because even when you go for making corrections in particular situation, you have to consider any criteria to be better, or any other thing to be better than other, then only you are making corrections. Okay, so write down that, like Plato, Aristotle also conceives good life, conceives good life and honorable life, and honorable life, but on the basis of inductive approach. Okay, so for uh, in case of Plato, you have seen that state is individual writ large. That means state is the magnified version of individual. You have already seen that in Plato. You have seen the explanation of that also. Okay, so there he meant that state does not consist of just the material things, that is buildings or trees or rivers or mountains. State is more than that. It is primarily consisting of individuals. So when we use the word state, according to Plato, it primarily meant individuals who constitute it. Okay, now, in this case, in case of Aristotle also, he is going to have the similar view of a state. That means it is going to be a collection of societies, families, villages. They together constitute a state. Okay. So in this case, में आपको similarity दिखेगी. So write on this, that according to him, that is Aristotle, according to Aristotle, state is a union of families. State is a union of families and villages which came into existence, which came into existence for the satisfaction of material needs of the people. Okay, right on. Through his inductive approach, he classifies different types of states, different types of states on the basis of observation, but but he never loses he never loses sight of the best state he imagines, of the best state he imagines. Now, coming to the most important part. Okay, this simple classification is not actually perfect. Okay, it is not completely correct to declare Plato as deductive and Aristotle as inductive. So you will see while he goes on classifying state, he says that some are monarchy, the other is tyranny, some are oligarchy, others are aristocracy, some are mobocracy, the others are democracy, okay, or polity. While he goes on prescribing that, he considers polity, which is actually a moderate form of democracy, to be the best state. This best state that he actually declares this particular thing to be the best or best practicable state, when he declares that, he does so by citing the defects in these. But how is it possible that for every other state that he has described, these are just few cases, he is able to make certain corrections? जब आप करेक्शन करते हैं किसी चीज में, तो किसी चीज को पहले से अच्छा मान के ही तो करेक्शन करते हो आप. ओके, सो फॉर एग्जांपल यू से सर कि दिस essay इज बेटर than this, and now this essay can also be made better by making this correction or that correction. So that means what? Before suggesting that, you meant some things which are good. That is, on that basis only, you are suggesting some corrections. Aristotle, while suggesting some corrections on the state, must have considered something good. Yes or no? Only then he can go on making certain corrections. He can go on suggesting certain corrections. So that means what? He never loses sight of the best state that he imagines. In that sense, he is deductive or not. उस particular process में वो deductive है कि नहीं? Okay? So yes, he is inductive in his process, but he is deductive as well. मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ. He is inductive and deductive. So he is inductive, no doubt about that, because of his analysis of particular situations, and not giving a preconceived conclusion that he is going to establish an ideal state or this or that, as you have seen in case of Plato. But while goes on analyzing the particular situation, he is having some criteria in his mind. The best thing that he actually imagines may not be the may not be in concrete shape or content, as is the case with Plato. But yes, some kind of best or at least better is something is there in his mind, and only then he is able to suggest those corrections. So in that sense, he is deductive also. So for Aristotle, it would mean that he is not just inductive, he is deductive. Okay? So he is both inductive as well as deductive. So write down. In this manner, it can be said that his methodology he is both inductive as well as deductive. He is both inductive as well as deductive. Okay. Okay, now see. When you will study about this chapter, political theory, meaning and approaches, so in approaches, वो जो chapter है, you will come across various terms. For example, historical approach, sociological approach, empirical approach, normative approach. ये बहुत सारे approach हैं उसमें. contextual approach, textual approach. Then where when you will study about historical approach, so you will see major names like Sabine. Okay, then it actually starts with Aristotle. The historical approach also, one of the propounder of that approach is Aristotle. We are talking about methodology. तो उसमें अब other than inductive and deductive, I'm talking about another thing that Aristotle has adopted also a historical approach in his political theory. Okay, तो उसने अपने political thought जो दिए, अपने theories जो दी, that was also historical. So historical का मतलब कि he adopted historical approach while giving his theories or while propounding his ideas. Now this can be understood also by saying this, that when he's empiricist, he's actually studying what? Different political systems. And one who studies different political systems will invariably study the history of those political systems. That when he goes on to declare that monarchy gets deformed and becomes tyranny, then how he can make that that generalization? Only by observing monarchy becoming a tyranny. Yes or no? So that will take a span of time. He maybe it happened during his own observation, during his own lifetime, and maybe he came to study that. Yes or no? Through history. Now, when it is about 158 Constitution, don't you think that this is not possible just in his own lifetime? He must have studied things with such a keen interest, whereby he must have gone to their history also. Actually, he did go to the history. So, in majority of the cases, when it comes to the conclusion, he is actually answering the questions of the past by taking the cues from history. तो वो बहुत ज़्यादा हिस्ट्री में बेस्ड है, एक्चुअली सिर्फ हिस्टोरिकल नहीं है, वो बहुत ज़्यादा हिस्ट्री में एक्चुअली बात करता है. और कोई भी ऐसा फिलोसफर who is going to be empiricist, who is going to be scientific, logical, he is not going to be just talking about ideas. He will be talking about concrete things, logical things, and history invariably becomes part of that. Okay? तो हिस्ट्री एक ऑब्जर्वर के लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज हो जाती है, एरिस्टोटल के लिए भी थी. ओके, नॉट ओनली दैट, I must repeat this statement that he has been primarily a keen observer. वो ऑब्जर्वर बहुत अच्छा है. उसकी मेजर वर्क जो होते हैं, सो when you study his major works, hello, when you study his major work, मेजॉरिटी ऑफ केसेस में आपको एक्चुअली स्टेटमेंट स्टार्ट होते ऐसे दिखेगा, ऑब्जर्वेशन सोर्स. दिस इज हाउ ही टॉक्स, दिस इज हाउ ही communicates. He says according to this, according to that. No, no. Observation source. Aristotle लिखता है ऐसे. So he writes observation source. That means whatever he's saying, he has been observing. Okay. So he's historical, and his methodology is actually based very much on observation. धन्यवाद. Thank you. So write down this point. Aristotle also used historical and comparative methodology. And comparative methodology, full stop. Aristotle considers history as a key to all the secrets. History as the key to all the secrets. All the secrets. And he understands present. He understands present with the help of with the help of past. Past. He understands present with the help of past. Okay. Next line. Aristotle is also a acute observer. Okay. Right. Full stop. Observation shows. इसको inverted comma रखिए. Put this in inverted comma. Observation shows. You can say is a very common exclamation. Observation shows is a very common exclamation in his writings. Okay. Okay. एक्चुअली कुछ स्कॉलर का यहाँ तक कहना है कि he observes more than he actually studies. Okay, that is why I'm putting this much emphasis. According to some scholar, Aristotle observes more than what he actually studies. Okay, so write down this. According to some scholars, he observes more than what he studies. Okay. अब देखो, so अगर methodology के अभी तक के discussion को sum up करें, so you have seen that it is not simply say it cannot be simply said that Plato is deductive and Aristotle is inductive. In that process, he is inductive as well as deductive. Okay, as well as deductive. Okay, then his historical approach भी उसने use किया, तो methodology historical है, and his comparative also. He is empiricist also. You have already seen that. Empiricist, inductive, deductive, empiricism, historical approach, comparative approach. Okay? And then acute observation. So studies are also based on observation, all that. Then coming to the next thing, that is, he is also teleological. So we have understood the meaning of that when we studied Plato. Try this. What is teleological approach? Okay. Teleological approach. So for revision, I'm telling you, teleological approach comes from telos. Okay, the word is telos. And telos का मतलब होता है ends. Ends. Or you can say purpose. Objective. Getting it? So teleological approach means it believes it is premised on this assumption that object has a particular objective. So to understand the methodology, I will again remind you. So in the starting classes, I know that you need the mentor to help you in revising the most important things. So I'm doing that. In Plato, you have seen that Plato's education scheme was actually a teleological venture. In case of Plato, his education scheme of education was actually a teleological venture. क्यों? Because education has an objective to achieve. It had a purpose to achieve. That is why we are saying that when Plato gave his theory of education, he was teleological. That means through education, he wanted to meet certain objective or certain purpose. He wanted to fulfill that purpose. And what was that purpose in case of Plato? To establish an ideal state, to realize justice in the society, to come to finally arrive at a situation whereby guardian class will readily accept the communism of family and property because they will not be having tilt towards appetite. Okay, and education is going to ensure that. Okay, so that was the end which was being achieved. So because of that, we can say that Plato was teleological while giving his theory of education. Okay, so when that is the meaning of teleology, that is a good revision of the concept. Now, when I say Aristotle is teleological, I mean to say that, as I have said, that many of the things are actually based on observation. So it is also on the basis of observation he has become teleological. How? Because he is of the opinion that nature has a definite plan. Okay, and whenever nature works for something, it acts like an artist. It acts like an artist. So it will time and again attempt to shape, to change, to do something for which it exists. For which it exists का मतलब क्या है? Telos. So nature will work, function, change things in a manner whereby it seeks to attain something for which it exists. Attain something का क्या मतलब? Telos, ends, purpose. Yes or no? So that is his belief. Belief means that is what he has come to conclude on the basis of his observation. And this teleological thing, this teleological belief or method, belief is incorrect word, just to explain you this, that he has come to this conclusion that nature works like this. And this is going to affect his own theory building also. Okay, so he is teleological because he has seen or observed nature working or changing the things in a manner whereby it seeks to achieve its end, or you can say for which it actually exists. Okay, in that process nature acts like an artist. Okay, जैसे आर्टिस्ट क्या करता है, आर्टिस्ट के सामने समझिए कोई पेंटर है, तो ही हैज दिस कैनवस बिफोर हिम एंड ही जस्ट गोज ऑन this doing this or that. नहीं, he has certain objective. For example, he wants to depict sorrow or sadness in his canvas. So sadness को अचीव करने के लिए क्या कर रहा है वो पेंटिंग ड्रॉ कर रहा है. तो वो पेंटिंग क्या करेगी अल्टीमेटली? पेंटिंग विल डिपिक्ट द सैडनेस or painting will depict the happy moment of human life. Okay, painting will depict that or this. Painting may become elusive in its meaning, but that is what artist seeks to do. Okay, to convey things, to achieve a certain end or purpose. So that is teleological. So write down. Any question here? Deductive. Okay, the question is नहीं ये okay. The question is कि if it is about certain end or purpose to achieve, it seems to be equal to deduction. टेलीलॉजी का मतलब है कि कोई एक ऑब्जेक्ट की बात हो रही है which has a certain purpose. So for example, if we talk about education, its purpose was to establish justice. As I said, object with an objective. The object becomes education, objective becomes justice. And deduction means what? It is a general idea which has been already preconceived. It is not about any particular object. Okay, so one is uh, talking about any particular thing, any particular theory, and that has a definite objective to achieve. Deduction would mean that it is actually a general idea. It is not a particular thing. Here it is actually about a particular object. Okay, so the difference is this. So right on, Aristotle's approach was also teleological. He believes that, just just give me a minute, I will come back. Okay, so I will repeat this statement, that he believes that Aristotle believes that nature works like an artist, and it tries to attain the object for which it exists. Aristotle says that nature does nothing without a purpose. Okay, nature does nothing without a purpose. Now provide the heading comparison with Plato. Comparison with Plato. ठीक है ना? Okay, coming to the Plato, and then I'll say what are the similarities here. इसमें प्लेटो में अगर बात करें कि why, what is the basic reason, the basic logic that Plato provides for the institution of philosopher king. Okay, so what was the basic reason why philosopher king should rule? Tell me, why philosopher king should rule according to Plato? He's the most virtuous. How he's the most virtuous? What makes him most virtuous? What kind of virtue we are talking about here? Knowledge. Yeah, good, good, good. Yes. So that is the answer. He is the philosopher king. The philosopher king should rule because he believes that knowledge is superior to any other thing. Okay, so no law or ordinance is mightier than knowledge. So, because of the superiority of knowledge over other things, the one who symbolizes the that superiority, that is knowledge, should rule over others. Secondly, he also says that philosopher king should rule because it is only the philosopher who knows what is the idea of an ideal state. So, ideal state can be realized by a philosopher king only, because idea of ideal state exists in the world of ideas, and that is accessible to the philosopher only. So, it is only a philosopher who would know what is ideal state. Okay, it is only a philosopher who actually knows what is the good rule, how to govern well. That is known by a philosopher only. Okay, so just like peasant tills the land because he knows how to till. Sailor sails the ship because he knows how to sail. A philosopher king rules because he knows how to rule. That is what is the best form of ruling the people, what is the best form of government, what is the best form of state. Getting it? So why you go to a doctor when you develop any disease? You don't go to goldsmith or ironsmith, because only a physician knows the diagnosis and prescription. Yes or no? So he found similarity between what? Statesman and physician. And if you recall, I have also said on some occasion that it is again a reason why he says that it is foolish to restrict a good practitioner of medicine by the book of medicine. Okay, so that is why he said that it would be foolish to limit the power of philosopher king by constitution, by any ordinance, by any rule book, because he knows what is best rule. So why to give him a book? Why to limit his power by a book? Okay. Now, The similarity that he draws between a statesman, physician, or between a ruler or an artist, that similarity is acceptable to the Aristotle also. So Aristotle agrees with that. Okay, कि those who are actually knowing the occupation should indulge in that occupation, no doubt about that. Why? Who should till the land? The one who knows how to tell. Who should sail the ship? The one who knows how to sail the ship. Who should actually treat people? The one who knows about the diseases. No disagreement here. But Plato, while he goes on ensuring this in his estate, in the process, he considers the ideas to be superior to the matter. That is one. So much so that he relegates matter to the level of irrelevance. And that was very clear in his theory, whereby he says that this word which appears to be real is not real. Nay, it is actually defective. It does not matter because every single second or microsecond things are changing. So things are constantly changing here. That is why it can't be real. So anything which is material is not real. Aristotle is not going to accept this relegation of material world to nothingness. उसके लिए मैटर इंपॉर्टेंट है, आइडियाज भी इंपॉर्टेंट है, कोई डाउट नहीं, लेकिन मैटर इंपॉर्टेंट है. और अगर मैटर आइडिया से सुपीरियर नहीं है तो कम भी नहीं है. Getting it? So write down this thing कि comparison with Plato. Following his teacher Plato, following his teacher Plato, Aristotle found much in common between a statesman and a physician. Comma, a ruler and an artist. Full stop. I'm sorry. Plato as an idealist. Plato as an idealist establishes the supremacy of ideas over matter. And he went to the extent of even rejecting the material. He went to the extent of even rejecting the material. Okay, now understand. So for Plato, ideas are more important than matter. Now, the importance of matter is such that importance of idea is such that for Plato, anything which is material is not real, is not real. So this material word, this sensory word is not real. Okay. For Aristotle, this is not the case. He does not reject the material thing. He does not deny the reality of material things. He is going to say that no, ideas and matter are not different. Ideas actually reside in matter. They are not different from each other. So if they are not different from each other, that means what? They are equally important. Again, understand, when Plato rejects material things, what he said, this word that appears to be real is not real. This is a sensory word. ओके, ये एक सेंसरी वर्ड बोला था उसको. और जिस वर्ड में सोल रहते हैं, आइडियाज रहते हैं, उसको क्या बोला था? कि वर्ड ऑफ आइडियाज, आइडियल वर्ड. This sensory word is not real because things keep on changing. So whatever can be is concluded on the basis of the study of this sensory world is not going to be real. So that means what? In this material world, you come to experience things, you come to know about things by your senses. Yes or no? So you know that this is a flat panel by your senses, eyes, you can touch it, you can experience it, you can smell it, all that. Getting it? So what Plato is essentially denying when he is denying that reality can exist in material world, he is actually denying that whatever you experience is not reliable. Yes or no? He denies that reality can be found by experiencing. He denies that because he denies that whatever exists in material world is not real. So your experience of material thing can also not become a basis foundation of reality. Aristotle differs here. Aristotle objects Plato's rejection of experience. Aristotle says that no, experience cannot be denied. Studies based on the experience are to be considered seriously. So that means what? He is giving importance to the matter because it is actually matter that you experience by your senses. ओके, समझ रहे हो इस चीज को? तो एरिस्टोटल क्या अपोज कर रहा है? एरिस्टोटल अपोज कर रहा है प्लेटो के इस डिनायल को कि when he goes on to say that material world is real, is not real, it appears to be real, it is sensory world. So in that process is also rejecting that whatever you experience in material world can all become the basis for any reality or any conclusion. There Aristotle says no, that is not acceptable. Okay, so right on, next line. What is the last line? Uh, Rejecting the matter, rejecting. But Aristotle does not reject the material world. But Aristotle does not reject the material world. Right on. Next line. Aristotle says that ideal world is not independent of material world. Ideal world is not independent of material world. Rather, rather, ideas are inherent in matter. Rather, ideas are inherent in matter. Right on. According to Aristotle, we cannot reject the knowledge that we acquire from the material world, from the material world that is world of senses, that is world of senses, sense, SENSES. Next line. Aristotle's main objection against Plato is that he made a departure from experience. ठीक है? अच्छा, अच्छा इसको समझो कि when he goes on to study Plato's work, matlab when Aristotle studies Plato's work, he accepts that that is a quality work. Okay, so he's saying that his master's work, Plato's work, is very brilliant. It is also very suggestive. Okay, but then he says that no, it is radical and it is also speculative. So according to Aristotle, प्लेटो का जो काम है वो ब्रिलियंट है, no doubt about that. It is suggestive also that you can take various cues from it, but at the same time it is radical, that is extreme and speculative. Speculative का क्या मतलब होता है? These are based on his speculations. Some many a times the logic, reasoning, rationale, all that will be missing if it is speculative. Okay, so that will be missing. Okay, also understand that when it's about Plato, we are actually comparing these two, ना? So उस comparison में हम ये देख रहे हैं कि when it is about Plato, in order to achieve what he wants to achieve, he goes on to suggest anything. So, for example, for ideal state, you recall, he went on to suggest the communism of family and property. Now, it's such a difficult thing to achieve. A guardian class, that means rulers and auxiliaries, will not have any private property, will not have any family. And then you see that how that is going to manifest breeding on the behest of his state. Okay, only for producing better offsprings. So one woman having multiple husbands and one man will be having multiple wives. So all that is such extreme. So in that case, he's radical. Radical का मतलब actually यहाँ पास extreme से. So Plato goes to the extremes to achieve what he wants to achieve. But when it comes to Aristotle, he suggests what? He suggests golden mean is the golden rule. Okay? तो एरिस्टोटल एक्चुअली बहुत ज़्यादा टेम्परेट रहता है अपने एक्सप्लेनेशन में, अपने सजेशंस में. सो व्हाट इज द गोल्डन मीन? यू विल सी दैट इन एथिक्स ऑल्सो. एथिक्स में भी आप इस चीज़ को पढ़ेंगे कि जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल टू अपोजिट वैल्यूज ले लें. फॉर एग्जाम्पल you have this enemy before you, and you just have an eye cast upon him, and you did not have any courage to face him, so you were scared to face him. Okay, तो वो जो वैल्यू आपने दिखाई वो एक्चुअली नेगेटिव वैल्यू थी. तो इसमें क्या था? फियर था. फियर इज वन एक्सट्रीम. Okay, now against this it may happen that your enemy is carrying a gun in his pocket, you know that, and in facing your enemy you did not consider that fact, and you showed extreme courage to fight against him, and he used this weapon, fire weapon, and fired on you, and you got killed. So that is the extreme courage, which is actually foolhardiness. Yes or no? So that is foolhardiness. He goes for golden mean. So neither this nor this mean, golden mean. And that is what he says are the real values. The courage is neither fear nor foolhardiness. It is mean of that, mean of that. Okay. So virtues कहाँ होती है according to Aristotle? Actually they are the lie at the mean, average, बीच में. Okay. तो एक्सट्रीम में वर्च्यूज नहीं मिलती, वर्च्यूज मीन में होती है. सो ऑल द वर्च्यूज इन लाइफ, एरिस्टोटल keenly finds out, observes what are the virtues of a good life, and then he finally concludes that they lie in the mean, or you can say in between two extremes. Getting it? So the same he will be saying for state also. Okay, so same he will be saying for political life also. So this is for good life, and same argument will be put for good political life, because again I should remind you that we are talking about ancient time, and there ethics and politics are not two different things. So there is no difference between good life and good political life, and that is why the one of the major work, that is politics, that he wrote and that we are actually studying, his major theory, is actually the extension of one book that is called ethics. तो उसने पहले ethics लिखी और उसका दूसरा पार्ट था politics. Okay, so you understood golden mean is the golden rule. So this is the golden courage is the golden mean. Getting scared by your enemy is bad. Adopting foolhardiness is bad. What is good? Having courage is good. Okay, so mean में जो रहेगा वो virtues है. Okay, so let's have a break and we'll continue our discussion on. Okay, so understood that he's actually appreciative of Plato's work, but at the same time, he is critical also. He says that they are brilliant, they are suggestive, but they are speculative also. Okay, and radical. और इसमें Plato goes on extremes, so he adopts radical means, and for Aristotle it is golden mean which is to be adopted. Okay, golden mean का मतलब golden mean का मतलब जहाँ average हो. Okay, so middle path, similar to what Buddha said, middle path. So right on, according to Aristotle, Plato's work is brilliant and suggestive, but at the same time it is radical and speculative. Okay. Then you can say further that, next line, Plato goes on to extremes and adopt radical means to achieve his objective, while for Aristotle, golden mean is the golden rule. Okay, so that is a comparison. Now another very important thing. Yes, please. No, that is not much required. Okay, so actually that is something that you get to study in ethics also. So what I think generally is, the one who is going to read this statement would actually understand. So that is why I did not give you this. Actually, this is something that you're going to adopt in ethics also. So why not to take reference of that, which enables you to use Aristotle in ethics paper. So that was the purpose actually when I told about this. The one who is reading your answer will readily understand what you are saying. So it is not a big deal when it comes to Aristotle. It is a very common fact. So now see, understand that how you should strategize your PSI preparation. Ki whatever you are getting in class or suggested readings, with time there will be suggested readings also. So focus on that. The first thing that you should do After going from this class, you are attending offline, online, जो भी है, just first go and read what you have studied. Okay, तो उसको एक दो बार मल्टीपल रीडिंग्स इंश्योर करना है, तो एटलीस्ट ट्वाइस आप जाके इसको तुरंत पढ़ें. ओके, एंड हैव दिस प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चंस. ओके, and try to attempt one or two. Now, if you're not attempting the whole question, that means if you're not writing the complete answer, then at least make a sketch. एक A4 size के paper में make a sketch of answer that you think you are going to answer that question in that manner. So, for example, what will be the introduction? How to come out with introduction? What you are going to write in body, and how you will conclude. Okay, so this is the exercise that I'm giving you कि आपको प्रैक्टिस अगले 3 महीने, नवंबर, दिसंबर, जनवरी, this is something that you have to do. Okay, this is an exercise. Now understand, if you want to develop biceps, good biceps, then what you do? Exercise for biceps. If you want to develop good back, you do exercise for back. If you want to develop good ability or skills to write good answers in political science, then this is the exercise. Okay, so if you will do this exercise regularly, you will become very good. नाउ असाइनमेंट्स होंगे, जैसे वेस्टर्न पॉलिटिकल थॉट में असाइनमेंट हो, 2-3 स्कॉलर्स हो जाएंगे, उसके ऊपर असाइनमेंट होगा, तो उसके ऊपर भी क्वेश्चंस होंगे, मॉडल आंसर्स होंगे, टेस्ट होगा, 10 टेस्ट दैट यू हैव, तो all that will be there only, but regular exercise matters. So firstly, whatever is being given in the class, revise that, make it a point that every single day, 2-2:30 बजे से क्लास शुरू होती है. Okay, and then you have gap also in between. So if you are in 8 years or 8 years plus, तो उसमें भी classes यही time period में शुरू होती हैं. This is the time. So before this period, cover everything. If you are targeting 2023 GS का newspaper plus class or whatever you have, and after this time period, अगर आप 10-11 बजे सो जाते हो, if you go to your bed around 10 or 11, then that time should be devoted here in political science. Okay, at max what you can do is say 1 hour of news or anything like that. So 9 to 10 हो सकता है news हो, but जाने के बाद, क्लास से जाने के बाद 2-3 hours is to be given to political science, and you have enough time. So अच्छा, things will change if you wake up at 9 or 8. उसके बाद अगर आप, if you go to bed by 12, then you should be waking up by 6 a.m. Okay, so 6 hours of time is required for sound sleep, or the amount of sleep that is required. So 6 to 2, that is enough for GS. Okay, so if you have a class, then attend that class at that time, and before that, whatever you want to cover. So you want to revise GS and all, but after this, इसके बाद आप जाके पढ़ो. मल्टीपल रीडिंग विल नॉट टेक मोर देन आवर. 2 बार रीड करने में 1 घंटे से ज़्यादा नहीं लगेगा. उसके साथ आप एक्चुअली तुरंत का समझा हुआ होता है. एंड देन व्हेन, हेलो हेलो, यू आर फ्रॉम विच क्लास, और ऑन व्हाट, PSIR, which demo class? This is not the class. Please ask him again. But I am not art and culture teacher, so you can ask again. I don't know, you just leave the class now. Okay. Now, so this much of time should be devoted. Okay, 1 घंटे में आपको मल्टीपल रीडिंग्स हो जाएंगे, 1-2 रीडिंग्स, एंड मेक श्योर दैट यू, आंसर राइटिंग करना तो बहुत अच्छी चीज़ है, लेकिन समटाइम्स आपको नहीं एफर्ट लग पाता, उतना एनर्जी नहीं होती, तो एटलीस्ट दैट एक्सरसाइज इज रिक्वायर्ड. ओके, सो आप A4 साइज लो एंड थिंक ऑन इट. Okay, so why this is an exercise, just like you do exercise for any part of your body, and ultimately that part becomes stronger. So your mind will become effectively stronger in answering questions, in framing the questions. ये 3 महीने की एक्सरसाइज आपको फाइनली केपेबल बना देगी बहुत अच्छे आंसर्स लिखने में. ओके. एंड the thing is that when you do regular exercises like this, when you try to study things, when you read those things, then one part of your mind will actually be inquisitive about noting down or keeping those things in memory which you are going to use in your answer. उसके लिए माइंड को फ्रेमवर्क की जरूरत होती है, एंड दैट फ्रेमवर्क यू डेवलप थ्रू दोज एक्सरसाइज. सो व्हेन यू read anything next time, your mind will automatically be more receptive to those things which you're going to use in your answer. Okay, so your revision, your reading becomes more effective. ये है केस. ओके, तो इसको इंश्योर करना है. दिस इज द स्ट्रेटजी दैट यू हैव टू अडॉप्ट. So just make sure that you do this. Firstly, okay. Now coming to the main topic here, Aristotle's theory of state. Okay, so first understand that when it comes to state, okay, understand I will dictate everything. When it comes to state, we are actually again trying to compare Plato, because again understand you can understand Aristotle by only by drawing a parallel of comparison with Plato. So Plato considers state what? It is not just a, a community. It is community for Plato. Then it is also a school. Okay, it is also a government, and he goes on to show the state in such a light that it is also a religion. By saying it a religion, by calling it a religion, what I mean is that he gives very high importance to the institution of the state. And same will hold true for Aristotle also. So Aristotle also is going to give very high importance to the institution of a state. Okay, the state is not building, it is not the material things, it is not just about these governmental buildings, it is about many other things. Okay, so state का मतलब सिर्फ और सिर्फ वहाँ पे river, mountains और buildings से नहीं है. It means many other things. So it means actually school also. It actually definitely will mean government also. Okay, and it also is a religion, and Aristotle agrees there with. So Aristotle के केस में भी state की काफी अच्छी importance है. Okay, very high importance he attaches to state. But then there comes a point of departure, that Plato, while talking about his ideal state, tries to install this thing on somewhere, say for example in Athens. Okay, so there the state that he's talking about, although it includes all these things, that means it is very highly important, but it is something which can be installed. That means what? It can be made, it can be manufactured, and that is how it can be installed. Yes or no? तो ये इंस्टॉल किया जा सकता है कि क्या मतलब है? It can be made, it can be manufactured. So state in Plato is a make. Is a make. It is a manufactured thing which can be installed here in Athens. He wanted to install ideal state in Athens. In that sense, it is a make. Okay. For Aristotle, that is not the case. State is actually the product of evolution and not make. It can't be stalled. It can't be installed anywhere. it is going to evolve. It has actually evolved through a process. And what is that process? That process is very natural. So first come the group of people. Why group of people? Because an individual was not self-sufficient and he was not able to realize all his potential. So he forms a group with other individuals. These groups actually are able to help individuals to satisfy some of his wants and to help him to realize some of his potential. Okay, more than the extent to which he was able to do when he was alone. Okay, then again, not all his wants are fulfilled, not all his necessities are fulfilled, and he still is not able to realize his fullest potential. So, what he does, he goes on to form villages. Okay, so again, there is increase in the extent of his realization of his potential, and to which he is able to he is able to satisfy his wants or needs, or he is able to realize his potential और अपनी necessities, अपनी wants, wishes को satisfy कर सकता है. This is more than a group, but is still not a complete self-sufficiency. So he forms society, community, and ultimately comes state. So it is only with the institution of a state or under the institution of state, all the necessities of life are fulfilled. Getting it? All the necessities of life are fulfilled, or you can say individual is able to realize his fullest potential. So this is the state of complete self-sufficiency in case of individual. Getting it? So this is how state comes into existence through a process. So state in the case of Aristotle is actually a process, actually a product of evolution. Okay, and there is a process of evolution. So first come groups, villages, societies, communities, ultimately state. Getting it? तो इस तरह से state is the product of evolution and it can't be a make. It can't be a manufactured thing. Getting it? As was the case with Plato. तो शुरुआत यहाँ हमने देखी कि there is a similarity in view, especially with respect to high accord or importance that they accord to the institution of state, but they readily depart from each other in saying that when Plato says that it can be installed, or you can say Plato means that it can be installed, and in that sense it is a make, while in case of Aristotle it is a product of evolution. Okay, so first write this and then we will understand further. Both Plato and Aristotle consider polis. Polis का मतलब वही city states. Okay, polis, not just a state, not just a state, but state according to them is highly important. It means various other things. It means various other things. For example, government. School. Community. Community. And also religion. And also religion. I don't. State is an important institution and is a mean or medium for attainment of complete life. Complete life for both Plato as well as Aristotle. But Aristotle makes a departure, makes a departure from Plato when he criticized Plato's state as artificial creation, as artificial creation. Okay, I don't full stop. Uh, contrary to Plato, contrary to Plato, Aristotle regarded state as a natural organization. Okay, according to Aristotle, state is the result of evolution. Okay, full stop. Now see, state is natural. कैसे? ये समझो कि when individuals made groups, so was making of groups or coming into existence of group was natural or not? It was natural. It was natural because it was not installed. Group was not. So स्टेट बनने के पहले जैसे ग्रुप था, ग्रुप के बाद विलेज बना, विलेज कम्युनिटी ऑफ विलेज एक्चुअली सोसाइटी बना दिया, सोसाइटी से स्टेट बना. सो ग्रुप का बनना, सोसाइटी का बनना, villages का बनना, community of villages का बनना, all that was new, natural. And just like that, state where this actually process is coming to an end, okay, is also natural. So just like formation of group was natural, village was natural, community was natural, state is also natural. तो यही चीज कह रहा है वो. Right on. He says that if numerous forms of society, if numerous forms of society were natural before the formation of a state, so was natural the state as well. Okay, इसको समझने के लिए I think you understood it. But now you can also say that state is a make in Plato. It is installed. In that sense, it is artificial. But here, Aristotle is providing an a theory of a state which is organic in the sense that it automatically comes into existence through evolution. Okay, so ऑर्गेनिकली फॉर्म होता है स्टेट, ये चीज ध्यान रखना है. सो इट्स इवोल्यूशन इज ऑर्गेनिक. स्टेट इज एक्चुअली द प्रोडक्ट ऑफ ऑर्गेनिक इवोल्यूशन. ओके, तो इस चीज को ब्रैकेट में लिख भी लीजिए कि स्टेट इवॉल्व्स ऑर्गेनिकली. स्टेट इवॉल्व्स ऑर्गेनिकली. Okay, next line. Plato's ideal state is structured or manufactured, structured or manufactured, or a make, or a make, 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 right in bracket, artificial creation. Creation, creation, bracket close. While Aristotle's state is a product of growth, oblique evolution. ओके, अब देखो. When it comes to Aristotle, प्लेटो. ओके, तो इसमें क्या है कि individuals हैं, then they form the groups and they forms the villages. Okay, and here comes the state, you can see. Individuals, group of individuals. Okay, all constitute state. So group of individual, groups, villages, community, societies. Okay, this way society, this way state comes into existence. So when state is coming into existence, even after the formation of a state, villages have their significance, communities have their significance, society that gets formed in that process of evolution have that significance. So that means what? One village will be different from the other village. One society will be different from the other societies because it is the collective society which is forming the state. So it is a collection of villages which form a community or society, ultimately leading to the evolution of state. तो जिस प्रोसेस के थ्रू स्टेट बन के आया है, all those societies or societies of society will exist even after the state is formed. And if that is so, then there will be diversity also, because I'm sorry, one group will be different from the other, one village will be different from the other. है ना? This will happen. Unity is signified in state. because all villages, all communities there, all societies there, all groups are there are under a state. State signifies unity, but in Aristotle's scheme, diversity is maintained. Here, state is going to be installed, okay, and there comes individual, and they have to do whatever is being dictated or decided at the level of state, because state ideal state है. Ideal state के अपने parameters हैं. Those parameters, those criterias, those systems are to be adopted. So ideal state requires the communism of family and property, so that will be applicable across the villages, across the society. Actually, existence of different villages do not matter for the state. समझ रहे हो इस चीज को? It is a complete unity. Are you able to see the difference? It is a case of complete unity, uniformity actually. And here it is unity in diversity. समझ रहे हो ये difference? So this difference needs to be understood and then should need elaboration. लेकिन ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है? Because state is the product of evolution and here state is going to be installed. Okay? So differences actually are to be effaced. Okay, they are to be nullified, and only then what is being dictated by the state, what is being considered by a state to be ideal, can be applied. And here, anything, societies of society which came before state will have their relevance, because state ultimately is the final stage of that evolution, and with the evolution of a state, the point at which a state evolves, various forms of organizations have already evolved, and that process actually leads to the evolution of a state final stage. So all that which have evolved previously will continue to exert its importance, and their value will be continued. You can say that the values or importance that was accorded to the organizations or institutions before the existence of a state, that will continue even after the formation of a state. So if that is so, then the differences between villages, between groups, even before, between individuals, all that will be there, and that preserves diversity. Okay, so write down this point that both Aristotle and Plato consider state as an institution which symbolizes unity, okay, for both, full stop, for both unity is attained through state. Unity is attained through state. But for Aristotle, it is unity in diversity. It is unity in diversity. Full stop. It is unity in diversity. Okay. Full stop. The state, according to him, is not an association. But associations of association. But associations of association. Okay? So what are these things? These are associations. है ना? These are associations. and this is association, singular, association of associations. Okay, getting it? So this was all. Actually, we are not done with theory of state, Aristotle's theory of state. फिर यहाँ पास अभी बहुत सारा बात करने को बाकी है. So today we have actually started talking about Aristotle's theory. Okay, in the last class we got the blueprint, and today we started. So please implement what I told you, revise the things, and see previous year question. You can discuss also. Okay, for example, you completed Plato, you can discuss those questions that you found troublesome while analyzing previous year question. Okay, so you can ask me also. Okay, so adopt that exercise that I gave you for next 3 months, and you will see that you will have very definite results. तो इस चीज़ को श्योर करें कि आप इम्प्लीमेंट कर रहे हैं. ओके, सो दिस वाज all about today's class. Thank you.